Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Erica El Hilali. I am an entrepreneur. I own a consulting business. I'm also the author of Soul Capitalist: How to Take Back Your Power and Change the World. And I have been through multiple careers. I do finance, I do technology, but more than anything, I like to help entrepreneurs really understand how they can improve their business, but lead with more intention and really make a positive impact on the world around them.
I love that. And you've got a story to share with us today. Where in this world does that story begin?
So it began 7 years ago when I became a mom. I think that for me, honestly, the most spiritual experience of my life was pregnancy and having a baby. It was just very much like I've never felt so like I just felt the natural world around me in such a deep way, whether it was through just really feeling my soul and then feeling this other new soul that was coming into the world and being the portal for that soul to come into the world. It really made me just, I was taken aback by just like how powerful and a miracle life really is. And I think a lot of times we think of parenting and there's a lot of logistics, there's a lot of responsibility, and then we forget the magic of it. We're literally bringing humans into the world, nurturing them through the whole process and all of that. And during that portal of childbirth, I was in labor for 2 days. I was probably not a typical mom in terms of like, I was like listening to Anya, doing deep breathing. So I was like feeling very spiritual with it. Yes, there's pain, but it's like life. There's pain, there's struggle, but like I was just trying to be like relaxed as much as I could through the process. I ended up having to have a C-section. So it was like I went into labor for 2 days and then I still had a C-section, but it was still a beautiful experience. And it was like things don't work out the way you want to, and that's okay. Like that's kind of how life goes. Like we have these twists and turns that happen, and we have these great plans, and then other stuff happens and we have to adjust and just know that things are going to work out for the best. My baby was born healthy, and that's the most important thing. And, I was able to just really feel into that experience how, like, I felt, I just like the things around me. I felt very supportive from all the moms who've come before me in my ancestral lineage, and just even like the ones who are still alive, who are there supporting me. It was a very loving experience. And I think we don't talk about birth as a spiritual experience enough, and for me, it really was. And yes, it's painful, and yes, it's all those things. But when you really dig into it, it's a miracle. And I think women don't get honored enough in the process of it either, for putting their bodies on the line the way they do.
I have, do you just have the one
I have
kiddo?
one. Yep, I have one son,
He's 7.
7 years old. Yep,
I have an
great age.
8-year-old. And
Love it.
he is the rootinest, tootinest little guy ever and is just a reflection of all of the things about myself that I like. He'll get real angry. And I realized, oh, he definitely gets that from me. Just the way, the style of which he gets angry, the things that he gets frustrated with, I can see all those things reflected back to me. Our experience with childbirth is two ends of the spectrum, two very significantly different experiences. My 8-year-old was born in Utah, and the doctor who delivered him used the fetal extraction vacuum on his head.
Mm,
And it would appear that that was the cause of a traumatic brain injury.
oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so we were young, 23 and 25 at the time when our son was born, I think, maybe even younger. And we didn't know our son, he was in the NICU for, like a month, and his lungs collapsed and he was having seizures, and he was having like 100 seizures a day for like
Mm,
the first year and a half of his life. And they put us on called, they would tried a couple different seizure medications, Keppra and I think one other one, but we ended up on phenobarbital. And phenobarbital has two major side effects. The first is that you get real sleepy and you get real chunky. Your appetite goes high and you retain a lot of water, so you end up being real chunky. And our son got really, really chunky, and he got really, really to the point where he slept for like 22 hours one day. And so because he was like lethargic, and so we rushed him to primary children's hospital, and they took his blood and they found that he had 4 times the amount of phenobarbital in his system that he was supposed to. They give us a 15 milligram dose, and it's really interesting. So we were at the hospital, and they were like, "Are you quadruple dosing him? He's got 60 milligrams of phenobarbital in his system." And we were like, "No, even if we were double dosing him, it'd be 30." So they were like, "Get him off the medication. He's not metabolizing it or something." And we went home and we looked at the bottle of medicine, and it turns out that the pharmacy had given us an adult dose of phenobarbital. So we went and talked to a lawyer. We went and talked to this lawyer, this cat named Lynn Harris. He's since retired. He was 76 when we hired him, and he's been just like, eating doctors. He's been eating doctors in hospitals for 30 years. And he was getting into he was asking questions about the whole experience, and was like, "Why is your son on this medication?" It turns out that we had a video of the birth. My mother-in-law had videoed everything that was going on, and we showed him the video, and he goes, "It's gonna be hard for you to hear, but your son's traumatic brain injury is a result of this doctor's negligence. He used the fetal extraction vacuum too many times, and it caused the decelerations in his heart rate to go beyond the standard of care. And that's the cause of his injury." And so if we go and try to sue this pharmacy, they're going to point at the hospital and say, "Oh no, like it's the hospital, it's all the hospital's fault." So he convinced us, these young kids, to sue this hospital. So our first kid, we immediately, we got him into all kinds of early intervention, and we're trying to do neuroplasticity and leverage, all these programs, and we're suing a hospital, and it is just the most terrible, stressful experience that I've ever had. We eventually went to court and lost. And that whole experience was just absolutely bananas. It wasn't too long ago that all went down. Just a couple years. My wife was in court with our next kid. So my son was a very smooth pregnancy, and we had a doula. So for the gals who are listening out there, get a doula. It's like a huge. I don't know. I to understand your team and who you had there. Consider a birthing, what do they call them? A studio or hut, birthing center. And we had this at Willow OBGYN. Shout out to the whole team. And she was a yogi. She was very far out, very spiritual the whole way through, very calm, very intuitive the whole way. And we let her know about this whole experience. We were like, "Yo, you are in the hot seat. Like this, like we don't like doctors. We had just lost this kid." We were like, we told her everything. And she was like, "Look, I'm not delivering this baby. You are."
Exactly.
Right? Like, I'm here as the guide, and I'm going to walk you through every step, and I'm going to be here for any like major red flags to intervene, like a C-section, right? If after a certain amount of time, the umbilical wants to come out, right? Like we want to get the baby out safely. So the birth went perfect. It was perfect.
Great.
She delivered naturally. There was this question in court as to whether or not her body was capable of delivering naturally, right? Like they attacked wife and this whole thing. It was bananas. And I've actually never told this story on the podcast before, so you're like, this is like heavy for me.
Aww.
But our kiddo, he had a little bit of respiratory issues. He was in the NICU for a bit while they were like making sure that he was breathing, room air. But I remember being there helping while my wife is giving birth, and this doctor is just like, she was like the mother in the jungle, like just coaxing and like, "You can do this. You are a master. You are divine. right? Like just hyping my wife up with all this really good energy. And like, I don't even know if she touched my wife the whole time. Like, just literally got her to do this and delivered a perfect baby. So I have this kind of intense dichotomy, juxtaposing two experiences together. They're opposite ends of the spectrum, and I think I want to get your perspective as far as like how your doctor set you up for this spiritual experience that you had. I want to hear how they dived in on it, but I also just like I want to take this moment for any of the women who are listening. You have a lot of rights as a birthing mother, and you need to be aware of them. You need to do a lot of research, and you need to trust your body. The fetal viability is the stress of the mother and like how in tune she is with her baby. So like you just like be lean in that love and don't let any medical journal tell you how your body is going to work, right? It's up to you, and every baby unique and different. And it's births the baby. It's not the doctor, right? Like that's
Absolutely.
mine for the world. So I'm curious, in your experience becoming a mom, tell me more about the spirituality. Tell me how you leaned into that. Tell me how you were able to get in tune with the baby, and then how that has carried into the rest of your life as a mother and as owner too.
Yeah, I think for me, I think it was really important to have agency and understand this is my body, it's my baby. Yes, those other people are there to assist, but ultimately my instinct is going to be the best compass in terms of what decisions need to be made and where. I mean, there was even I think about like I think I was like I don't know, like 30 hours into the labor. And at this point, my water had broken, like a day before and all this stuff. And they're like, oh, we should, let's think about like pushing, a C-section or test and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, 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 I'm going to wait. And I felt good because I waited as long as I could. And it felt like that was what I was supposed to do. And I listened to my body, I listened to my instinct. And there's something I don't know if there's anything stronger than a mother's instinct out there. Nothing that I've felt, but it's like in your bones, like what's right for your baby and what's right for you, and follow it. I also think too, for me, what was really helpful, my mom was telling me, she's like, listen, women have been doing this for thousands of years. Like you have all this support of, your grandmothers, your great grandmothers, like all these like amazing women on the other side are like with you in this process. You're not alone in it either. So realizing that you have, this lineage behind you as well is also helpful to the process. At least it was for me. And then knowing that you have somebody like my husband was there. So like he also, if I was telling him like, nope, I'm not ready, like he would also stand up and because like it is a physical experience going through labor. Sometimes you can't articulate things as well as you normally would. So having somebody there in your corner who's going to back your decisions is also really important. And I think that's a really sacred space for men in the birthing process as well. As a father, you get to be protective of your wife, and if she's telling the doctor no, like you be there and you back her up, and be that voice for her if she's in that situation, because a lot of times they won't always listen to women's voices. So that's also really
Yeah,
helpful.
yeah. Be sure to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
So carry the things that you took from this experience into your life and into your business. How did it apply?
Yeah. I think up until then, I'd been, focused on a lot of practical stuff in terms of like, okay, I'm building my career, I'm learning these skills. Like it was much more like the material, right? Of like, let's just like logistically get my life in order. And what becoming a mother really taught me was like, there's so much more than just that. Like, it's more than just creating a business or creating a career that is going to make me materially successful. I wanted to be spiritually rich as well. And one of the quotes I use in my book is actually from it's in the introduction of my book. It's from John F. Kennedy, and it says, "The country cannot afford to be materially rich and spiritually poor." And for me, that's I think that is like the lesson. Is like I don't want to just like focus on having material abundance and making like that be my goal, I was like, I want to also be spiritually rich. And I want the way that I mother to be spiritually rich. Like, I don't want to just be like, oh, go to this. I want my son to feel that spirituality and encourage that in him from a young age. And I've been able to do that. And then obviously that's transitioned over into the work that I do as well. I think about it. I'm like, I don't want to just help companies make money. I want to help them make a positive impact. Like, how are we making the world better for the next generation? How are we making our community stronger? How are we making important innovations that help people? And I think that's the great thing about capitalism. It's this amazing engine where you can have an innovation, bring it to market, and that the mechanism of it is so powerful. But now how do we add soul into it so that we can actually be making positive impact with it and not just focused on the next quarterly earnings report and doing financial manipulation and spreadsheet manipulation to make the numbers look good. Like, what is the work that we're actually doing? What are the problems we're actually solving? And putting our energy and our creative force towards that. That is pretty much what I've dedicated my life to since then.
I love that. I'm curious a little bit about the like process that you follow when you're first engaging with a client, right? Like, obviously there's the cash flow and profit. I'm a profit first, right? Like, how to make that you're paying yourself, hiring and firing and strategizing and all that. But tell me a little bit about how you bridge this gap between, like, right, like, we're bringing in this executive consultant and she's going to help us like build a better business, but she's also going to help us like be a better business, right? How do that bridge from A to B when you're like onboarding with somebody?
So I think it's important to look at any business and be like, what are your revenue streams? It's still a lot of the practical business stuff. I have an MBA, so like I still in finance and the importance of having a solid balance sheet and things like that. But I think it goes deeper than that. It's like, okay, if you are getting profit, you get to that stage of profitability, and then you're like, okay, now what are we doing with it? Are we reinvesting in other stakeholders like employee development? Are we doing R&D that's going to help us with another new solution? How are we reinvesting those profits into something more productive? I think that's the easiest way to look at it. But I think it's also important to look at, okay, where are we getting our profits from, and are where we're getting our profits ethical, right? Like, if you're doing shady business practices, they're probably not sustainable, right? So it's like, yeah, in the short term they may be good for you, but in the long term of your business, you're going to get a bad reputation, you're going to lose customers, whatever it is. And so for me, I always try to focus on what is the solution we're bringing to a customer. I use customer journey a lot, and I look at the whole process. How can you keep adding value to the customer? And that's what capitalism does, right? Is like, how can you provide the most value to the customer in the most efficient way? And the more ethically you do that, the better. And honestly, I feel create you get more creative too when you're like, okay, these are the parameters I'm going to go with. I have to do this in an ethical way. I'm not going to take shortcuts. I'm not going to take the easy way. I'm going to be creative and be creating these solutions that are actually helping people, bringing them real value. And then guess what? That's a long-term business you're building, not just some short-term get rich quick
Yeah,
scheme that's
cash grab,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Erica, it's been a pleasure. Where can everyone find you?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, you can check out my book, Soul Capitalist: How to Take Back Your Power and Change the World. It's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. You can also check me out on LinkedIn. I'm most active on LinkedIn, just Erica El Hilali. And then on Instagram, I'm at Erica El Hilali also.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure.
This has been the Pulse Ox Podcast. Please, if you found this episode valuable, give us a like on Spotify and share it with a friend.